Thanks for tuning into this edition of Upfront. I'm Falon Wagner, and today we're in the town of Taber with Mayor Andrew Prokop. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Falon. Appreciate it for having me.
Absolutely, and thanks for having us out here in Taber. So maybe let's start off with a little bit about you, maybe where your roots started and what brought you here today to the mayor of Taber.
Well, initially, I grew up in Lethbridge, had all my schooling in Lethbridge, went to the college in Lethbridge also, community college, completed a law enforcement program there, and basically first came to Taber for the job with the police service in Taber in 1983. So it's been a day or two, but it goes by quick also.
Yeah, that's right. And then ever since then you decided to plant your roots here.
Absolutely, yes, that's right. It's had a great career with the Taber Police Service, and still have very many close friends and contacts within the policing community, not just Taber, but the province as well. And yeah, exactly. I grew up in Lethbridge, but I consider Taber home now, for sure.
And what initially made you decide to run for town council?
Well, actually, as a town employee, you're not eligible to be running in the council capacity. But I always had an interest in the political circle in a number of ways there. So overall, I think it's like my story is probably no different than a lot of people. Just basically have a desire to help make our community better and be a voice for the general public and making those decisions that will make the community a better place for all.
Absolutely. And do you think, I think this question kind of in some ways answers itself, but do you feel your work on the police force helps set you up for maybe some of the necessary skills or even contacts to run or be on a part of council?
I would say that's a fair question, Fallon. Yeah, overall, in that world, you definitely have to deal with people effectively, and no different in the political circle. So yes, that's a fair question to say that it helped me get ready for this role. And but it's basically it's a public service kind of a role, as is policing. But I have to say about our council, or even the past council I was on the last term, we had a very diverse group, and as we do now, with a lot of varied backgrounds. And I think that's what helps make a really good proactive council come together to help with those final decisions. I'm one vote out of the 7 members, no matter how you stack it. But the bottom line is we have some great deliberations, great discussions, and our administration is really good for providing us all the necessary information to be able to make those decisions for the betterment of our entire community.
And were you at all surprised, or did anything maybe you not expect from the election process that you learned through your experience?
Is there anything I didn't expect? Don't know if I could say that for sure. I think I had a bit of experience through the previous term, although that was for the councillor role only. But I don't know it was much different to run for the mayoral role necessarily, although there may have been more pointed questions during the process at the mayoral candidates. I believe that's fair to say, and understandably. You know, it's in this role you're the spokesperson for the community, and you're expected to be up on as much as possible. We can't be up on everything. I'd be the first to say we don't know everything, but we certainly have the means to be able to find the answers if we don't have them at that particular moment. And our administration and our council is a great team together, along with the rest of the town of Taber staff that help make this one major cohesive team for the town of Taber.
I think this is something that surprised me, speaking with even councillors from Lethbridge, is the amount of work and research and reading and understanding that goes into being a councillor. Maybe you can comment on that, because I think a lot of times the public don't even realize how much goes into getting together for those meetings to have those discussions beforehand.
Absolutely. There's a lot of preparation work. I don't think the average person realizes just what's involved that way. I've had some good discussions with some of the local public about just that, and as council we meet regularly twice a month, but there's far more to it than that. There's many boards and committees that we all sit on as well. We try to split those up accordingly. But there's many hours required through the week and/or some weekend events we get invited to. We try to make sure, if I'm not able to make that, or our deputy mayor, then at least a representative or more of our council attends. And if we're being invited to something like that, that they want a member of council there, it's important for us to be there. So we go to all ends to try to make that happen, and to be part of the community and be visible and be approachable. We certainly encourage that. I encourage that through the election process. It's very important to be comfortable with the public to approach you on whatever matter that might be. And I have to say, I receive a few calls, phone calls here and there, more emails from different individuals, but more than anything, it's the public contact. That's the majority of it. And really, there's a certain amount of work within this building, our administration building here, that has to be done on a weekly basis there. But the work is really out there in our community. That's the most important part that we have to take care of on a regular basis.
And I think you've answered this in some capacity, but is there anything that you've learned since taking on the role of mayor?
You know, we're always learning, Falon. And the Municipal Government Act is very in depth. We have a lot of great guidance from our administration related to that, particularly our CAO, Mr. Corey Armfeldt, that helps us in that regard. And we also have a legal team that we refer to when there's a need, as he has access to also. Not in the confines of this building, but elsewhere. And that's a help to us also. And so that's a necessary expense. This business, this operation is a 365-day-a-year operation. There's always somebody on call, somebody working within the town of Taber in all areas. So it doesn't stop, you know. Just because the town office or administration office is closed doesn't mean it stops out there for what's necessary. So there is a broad range of requirements any given day, any given week. And again, it's a 365-day operation a year.
And is there anything that you're hoping specifically to accomplish as mayor?
Well, overall, I think this wasn't a platform that I refer to per se, but it's a focus, or was a focus, is a focus about economic development and recreational opportunities for improvements in both areas. And I said that before, and I'll say it again, that those two areas are key to making a community work functionality-wise and attractiveness to keep people here and or attract new residents to our community. So you put those two things together, and that gives you the family group availabilities as far as the recreational component and or the economic development portion. That's creates more of the viable job options there. And you know, we talked about this a bit before. The oil downturn has hurt us all in Alberta to a certain degree. But I've talked to a number of people in the oil field that are currently in the oil field business, and it's affected us, absolutely, but not as bad as some areas. You know, so we've been very fortunate that it hasn't affected us as quite as bad as some. So that may be a combination of reasons. I don't know. I don't have all the answers for that, but we definitely have got through that better than some areas in the province.
And should feel very fortunate for
We
that.
do for sure. So again, but I can just tell you that without naming names, but we had roughly 50 new businesses open in Taber last year. So, you know, well, I shouldn't say that. There's some are oil related, but there are many that weren't oil related. And so that goes to show you the diverse options that are out there, and people willing to take those kind of chances and see that there's the need for those type of businesses and act on that accordingly, and follow up and thrive in that capacity. So we have a few close here and there, but overall we have way more new business options than any business that are leaving the community.
That's great to hear. And I love to ask this question: what do you think makes Taber a great place to live?
There's a lot of things, Falon. But you know what, overall, I would have to say, honestly, it's the people. And I don't think it would be unfair to say that if you talk to particularly longer-term residents here, but people that are involved with the community, you get a lot of very interested and involved people that live here that are part of the volunteer base. for all of the service clubs and the many, many things that go on within the town of Taber to make Taber a really great place to live. And that volunteer base is key. But that goes to show you that people are engaged in our community. They're committed to our community. They're long-time residents. We have many long-term residents here, and or part of that family tree here. And we are attracting new people. We're not as high as some areas that are we're about 1.5% population roughly in the last few years per year. But we'd like to see higher than that, of course. But we are growing. And one day at a time is the best way to look at it, I think. But overall, I'd say it's the people overall, and that's one of the first things I noticed when I moved here. Is even from Lethbridge, it's half an hour, 45 minutes down the road, and even now I can walk down the street in Lethbridge, and I maybe get 2 people who will acknowledge or say hello or look at you even, and if you walk in downtown Taber and 9 out of 10 aren't either saying hello to you or acknowledging your presence, there's something wrong, because that's commonplace in the smaller communities. I would, coming from the city, 10 times plus size of Taber, I still believe, and I said it years ago and I'll say it again now, that the smaller town communities are a better quality of life all the way around. And until you experience that, I don't know if you can appreciate that so much. We may not have as many amenities as the cities do, but as far as overall quality of life, that's what you get with the smaller town communities.
I love that. I'm from Claresholm, so I have some fond memories of Taber. So yeah, totally, absolutely. And now let's talk about a regular day on the job as mayor. I'm sure every day is a little bit different, but
boy, I don't know if there's a regular day ever, to be honest. I think quite often Monday through Saturday, Sundays there generally isn't anything pressing happening for mine or other council members' roles. But Monday through Saturday is not uncommon for different things to be going on. And for myself, I deal closer with our administration than the rest of the council does on a regular basis. But typically I would meet with our CAO 3 or 4 times a week probably, and we're planning meetings and agendas, and any given day I'm in here, I'm looking for whatever documents need to be signed and contracts, etc. And so there's always that paperwork aspect also involved there, but that's not necessarily an everyday thing, but we're checking regular on that. And the staff is also really good for contacting me if there's a need, other administrative staff, to ensure that I'm aware of something that needs to be dealt with here sooner than later, signing wise. And so that's part of it, but it's the planning of the meetings. It's many requests to meet the public at large through the business format or interest at large for whatever topic of discussion, different times there. And like I say, many events we get invited to, plus the committees and boards we have to sit on regularly and attend on a weekly basis. And not uncommon for any of us to have several meetings a week that we're having to attend there and deal with on a regular basis there. So it's an ongoing process, and as you said before, most people probably don't understand exactly what's involved with that, but there is a lot of time requirements and asks out there from our community with these different groups, and the committees are ongoing and the boards. So there's lots of decisions to be made and lots of things happening within the community.
And you spoke on this just now and a little bit earlier about going to different events in the community and being involved. Are there any events in particular that really stood out in your mind?
Well, I gotta give Taber the Cornfest plug, I guess. That's the biggest one of the year for us here. And this last year, 2017, was the 32nd year celebration for Cornfest here in Taber. And that went over very well. In fact, we had an extra day this year for the first year. We started a Thursday instead of the typical Friday through the weekend. And so that extra day meant there was more things going on, more things available for the public. And the only difficulty I think they had initially was filling the volunteer spots required for that extra day. But they managed to persevere through that, and it's worked all the way around there. And it was another great success. And to me, from what I see, and the numbers, the car show is another example for the numbers are up in that, capacity. And I don't know if you could ever really judge the numbers that are here, but they guesstimate that it was a higher number there than the last year also. So, and just by being around any given day there when the Corn Fest was going on here, it's evident that there's a lot of people there, and talk to different people that are from all over, and some are visiting friends or family here, and some were previous Taborites, and some are just visiting because Taber, is the place to be during that Corn Fest period for sure. So that's a big event, and that went over very well here. But I guess if you want a little bigger event that's not necessarily in Taber here, but it was an invite, and myself and Councillor Stravos also attended in Calgary here recently in November for the Japanese Emperor's birthday celebration. And there's a consulate that lives out of Calgary there. We were invited to that particular residence, and I'm sorry, his name escapes me at the moment. I should remember that, but anyways, he and his wife invited us to their home, and it was 2 different nights actually. We were there one of the 2 nights, but like 150 people in a residence from all backgrounds and contacts that they would have also. So that was quite an event to attend there, and pretty impressive for us to be invited to that. And we made sure we got there, and were very treated very well, and had a great time there, and it was a very impressive event all the way around.
What a wonderful memory.
It is, for sure.
And I have to ask you, if someone maybe is interested or has ever thought about running on council, what advice would you give them?
Research, I think are the key, is the key word. And we have quite a lot on our website and our Facebook page also. So that's one area to start for sure, but I wouldn't hesitate sitting down with anyone that has a definite interest in that capacity and has questions. And I believe all our councillors would echo the same offer. We're, like I say, we're public service individuals there, and we wish to be transparent and visible and available to our community residents. And so that's important. If somebody's got an interest and they're not sure about something, they should ask us accordingly. They can call us or email us or whatever the case may be, or set up an appointment with our administration as well. But that's probably the first step, to research and ask some questions there. And they could look into the Municipal Government Act. That's what we'd use as our guideline for our political Bible, if you will. And we follow that very closely, and some very strict criteria attached to that. But it's important to know that, and nobody can know that cover to cover. But it's recently changed in the last several months with some new additions there. But that's an important piece of the puzzle if you're going to be involved with municipal politics, to understand the Municipal Government Act for sure. So that's another area. It's also available on the computer, and I believe we have that on the website as well, do we not? Yes, we do have that available on our Town of Taber website for their accessibility if they so choose. So that's an area to look into as well.
Great advice. And now, as on council, as a mayor, there's a lot of decisions that you have to make. So would you say there was a really tough decision, or maybe a really easy decision for you?
I don't know if I can answer either one completely with that. There's rarely any easy decisions, I don't think, but I shouldn't say that. Some are very easy to make a decision with the information before you. Others are not as easy. But generally speaking, if we're unanimously agreeing on something, chances are it was a relatively easy decision. If we were not, if it wasn't unanimous and it's just a decision that's passed with a majority, then and that's considered carried. It has to be a minimum 4 out of the 7 to be carried. Then I would say those are probably a little more difficult decisions to be made. Maybe not for me as an individual, but when you get a mix of ideas or opinions related to that. And I have to say, honestly, it's not about your opinion. Anybody's entitled to their opinion for whatever topic of discussion. But the bottom line is, us as elected officials can have an opinion, absolutely, But I don't believe we or anybody should be making your decision on an opinion. It's about the whole picture, the whole information before you, the research that we're able to do, that we're given to look at individually through any given council meeting, and make an informed decision, and that's good for the whole community. And honestly, I'm not in favor of something personally about some topic, but if I look at the whole picture, and I believe it's something that's good for the community, it's suggested that we maybe look at this and go on this route, then absolutely you have to look at that and consider that accordingly. So in that case, it doesn't matter what my opinion about that particular topic is. I'm taking everything at face value, and or listen to my fellow councillors with that deliberation and discussion about that particular topic. And we do have a lot of research. A lot of council preparation is not uncommon to have 600 or 700 pages of documents to go through prior to the actual council meeting. So there's a lot to digest there, and a lot of questions that you garner from that prior to getting to the meeting. You may want to ask accordingly. But I've honestly looked through the research or the information available to us in any agenda package, and thought I was likely going to vote one way, and I was actually swayed by something else that came out in the meeting through another councillor or possibly administration to say, why it's a good reason to go a certain way. And, in all fairness, that's exactly right. So you have to have an open mind. You have to be flexible, I think, and not be tunnel visioned in any capacity to make that proper best decision. And the public expects that of us. And that's what I'm saying. It's not about my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter to make this decision. Again, anybody can have an opinion, but the bottom line is you make that decision based on what information you have and the research that's done and the questions and the deliberation before you make that decision and or decide what you believe is best for the community.
Perfect, great answer. Now we're going to keep you here, Mayor Prokop, and after the break, we're going to ask you a rapid-fire round of questions. We're back with Mayor Andrew Prokop, the mayor of Taber, and now we're asking him a rapid-fire round of questions. Are you ready for this?
As ready as I am.
It's a good answer. Okay, what is your favorite food?
Favorite food, I'd have to say steak, probably.
Choice. And your favorite song?
I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton.
Also, very good choice. Favorite movie?
$1 Million Baby.
And is there a favorite place for you to go on vacation?
Anywhere tropical.
Especially in the winter. What is the one thing that you can't live without?
Yeah, I guess I'm big on sports. I play hockey. I have refereed hockey. I watch hockey. So I guess the hockey circle and involved the old timers here heavily with our hockey group. So I guess hockey is a big one for me. Yeah. that's definitely recreation based for sure. But
yes, and it's a very Canadian answer, so I like that. What's your favorite season?
Fall. I'm actually into the camping and hunting quite a lot, and/or photography. So color-wise, temperature-wise, and everything else, it has to fall. You can't beat it. I've always liked that right since I was a kid, all the way around that way. So.
And do you have a favorite holiday?
Christmas would be right up there, I guess, because that's when family definitely makes the effort to get together extraordinarily, and extra efforts there. And so if there's anything anybody misses throughout the year, hopefully Christmas isn't one of them, because that's the most important time, I believe, for family and friends to get together during that holiday season.
Absolutely. And do you have an inspirational quote that really sticks with you?
That is, I've seen a lot. I wished I did see that too, and nothing came to mind there. But Geez, sir, I don't at the moment here.
That's okay. We'll come back, you know, in a year, and we'll ask you that question.
Okay. I did give that some thought, and nothing came to mind initially there, but.
It is a tough one. And is there anything else that you would like to add from our discussions today, Mayor Prokop?
You know, overall, I appreciate you coming out and asking the questions there. There was we went through some of these beforehand, and you had some really good questions, and Ryan had some base question ideas there that's very important and applicable to the political circle there. And you know what? Bottom line is we're here to help people and or make our community a better place to be. But you know, we also deal with many other communities and or meet with other mayor and councils there for different reasons throughout the year. And overall, you're a collective group that's elected for a reason, and I believe everybody's on the same page with that particular idea. Again, trying to make their community a better place to be. And we share ideas. There's a lot of information sharing going on there. So that's important to be current and meet regularly with these people, as well as our MD of Taber. We meet regularly with our municipal district of Taber council members in Reeve also. And that's important to have a very close-knit relationship with your neighbors. They're right here in the same building, actually. But we've done that more so in the last few months than we probably have in the last couple of years. So, and we're both making that effort to do so. And that's win-win for our community and the area as well, for them also.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciated having you on our program.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Upfront.